We are back on Patriots 4th and 2, the official podcast, PatsFans.com. I'm Russ Goldman. Along with me, as always, is Steve Balsherry and Derek Havens. In this episode, we're going to look back briefly at the Patriots' victory against the Lions. And later on in the show, we will be previewing the upcoming game for the Patriots against the Browns. On top of that, we have some topics we'll be discussing during the show. So we have a lot to get to. But before I bring in my co-host and get to one of our topics, do want to mention to please subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. On YouTube to the PatsFans.com YouTube channel, and on Apple Podcasts to Patriots 4th and 2. Leave a review. You can tell how bad I am, how great Derek is, and how great Steve is. Feel free. It'll still help Patriots fans find us. So thank you very much
for
leaving a review. I know. You guys are probably behind all the negative reviews. Okay.
That's true.
That's all our burner accounts.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, guys, before we really get into talking about the Lions, we're not going to spend too much time. I'm just going to answer or ask a very interesting question. Are you happy with Zappe? Now, what I mean by this is it seems that here in Boston, there's a Zappe takeover.
It's a second pandemic, really. I mean,
it is. I've told Steve about this. It has gotten really stupid. It's gotten stupid. It's on social media, but it's also many members of the media who want, let's just call it what it is, a quarterback controversy. So, guys, I'm happy with Bailey Zappe. I'm happy with him as a backup quarterback, maybe for many years to come, like Brian Hoyer. That's as far as I'm going to take it. Can he win on Sunday? Yes. But he will never, ever be an elite starting quarterback in the NFL. I've watched too much, guys. So I'm happy with Zappe as a backup quarterback. Derek, thoughts on just talking about Bailey Zappe? I know it's a small sample, but you can see the tools. He can get better, but I think that there is a ceiling there, and I think people are getting really just taking it way too far, especially our local media here.
Yeah, you know what I'm getting annoyed with? I'm getting annoyed with the fact that we have to like disparage the kid because some people are making it out more to what more than what he is. Like let's call it what it is. He's a fourth string quarterback from a lower level college program that's a rookie that probably wasn't expecting to see the field all this year. 2 weeks ago, he's the backup quarterback, and a couple of, 2-3 drives in, all of a sudden he's stepping into a pretty tough place to play in Lambeau Field. Then he gets his first start against the Lions, who, again, have an atrocious defense, and we'll get to it, and that was on full display last weekend. He does basically very similar things to what Mac Jones did last year. They had the training wheel offense on in full effect. And now I'm not blaming the Patriots for doing that. And I'm not even discrediting Bailey for, how things were set up. The coaches did a great job of putting Bailey Zappe in a position to succeed, and he succeeded. Now, what I get frustrated by is I think some people are looking at the Bailey Zappe situation. I've been frustrated with, the media members are, Rush, you already laid it out. We're not surprised. That's not surprising. No. The things that I'm a little aggravated about is the fact that, people are all of a sudden talking about Mac like Bailey's on the same level or better than him. Well, they're running two different offenses. Mac's a much, much more qualified NFL starter than Bailey will be. And I think that he could be the backup, to your point, Russ. Like, he could be the backup for the next few years. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good find in the fourth round for a quarterback. Yep. I just think that people are taking it too far. And I think some of it is for personal reasons. And I think, honestly, guys, I don't know if you agree with this or not. I think some of the fans that you have heard kind of pounding the table for Bailey Zappe, I think what they're really telling you is that they don't believe in Mac Jones. That's what they're really saying. Okay. And so
it's an interesting way to look at it. Steve disagrees with you, and I'll go to him in a second. But
I think I'm not talking about the media members. I'm talking about fans. Any fan who's listening and thinking that they want Bailey Zappe, I think what they're really saying is they don't want Mac Jones. I don't think people believe in him. I'm saying just those people who were pounding the table for Zappe. But Steve, please go ahead and
Steve, go ahead. Your rebuttal.
Well, no, it's not a rebuttal. I mean, I think Derek makes some great points, but I will say this. I mean, I don't think we can qualify Zappe as not being starting caliber this early.
Okay.
I think he has the tools that he might be. I mean, we don't know yet. It's way
That's
too
true.
early to judge him either, pro or con this early after, a small sample size of 2 games. He might end up being a great quarterback. We don't know. He's small, but Drew Brees was small too. And I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying, it's far too early for those type of things to be said. Now, I will say that when Mac Jones comes back, this is his team. The Patriots invested a lot of time and effort into him. And if you look at the protection that Zappe has got the past 2 games, it's far and away much, much better than Jones had the first 3 games. I mean, you look at it, Jones was getting rocked back there. Now the offensive line seems to be finding its feet. That's a great thing. But Jones would have been doing all the same things and more if he was getting that protection all season.
Right.
So
I agree with that.
I agree.
And I'm going to say this. The people that are pounding the table for Bailey Zappe, I don't think they don't believe in Mac. They want a change in the coaching staff. And they're looking for any excuse to say,
agree with that, Steve.
Bill whiffed on another first rounder. They had him for a year and they're already replacing him. And don't tell me that isn't going to pop up.
No, the thought actually crossed my mind.
But the coaching staff is an interesting point. I do like.
Well, we're going to talk about the coaching staff too. I want to get there too.
Okay. Then I'll table that. But I do think that's an interesting point because we're looking at it from different directions. I guess I'm looking at it as, how we've been talking about over the course of the last year plus about how Mac's development is going, where he projects to be, is he the guy, etc. And so I looked at it from that perspective of people saying, yeah, Mac's the guy, but then, saying they want Zappe. You're looking at it as a take on the coaching staff, just a different viewpoint. But yeah, no, it's interesting for sure. And I'm glad Chris is on 100% on Mac. I'm still with Mac. I'm still frustrated with what we've seen so far this year because he's been turning the ball over too much. But when we get to the coaching staff, I want to bring up a couple things. But
yeah, definitely.
I want to get him back on the field hopefully soon because I would like to get him, back on the right track a little bit.
Okay. Now, Chris brings up an interesting comparison. Russ, would you compare Bailey Zappe to Jacoby Brissett? No, I wouldn't. Who I would compare him to is actually going to be an interesting one. I would compare him to a young Brian Hoyer. Now, I don't think that's an unfair comparison. Brian Hoyer had similar tools and turned out to be a career backup. And I don't think that's a bad comp, and I don't think that's an insult to Bailey Zappe. I would compare him to a young Brian Hoyer when he was starting out.
Wasn't Hoyer coming out of Michigan State? Wasn't he pretty athletic too? I mean, I thought he was a little more athletic than maybe Zappe.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, he was an undrafted quarterback.
I mean, if you want to say that they're smaller in stature, good students of the game, not a big arm, good ball placement, then sure.
Game managers, right?
And to your point about the media, Russ, Florio today on whatever site that he writes for, I can't remember the name.
Pro Football Talk.
That's it. He wrote that Mac Jones and Bill Belichick are feuding and they can't stand each other. That doesn't sound familiar, does it?
No. And again, there's
how they got to this.
Their agendas part of this.
How they got to this myth is a really good question.
I have no idea.
I think it's all the stuff over the summer, and I don't know if it's a Mac. I don't think it's a Mac and Bill thing. I think that Mac was frustrated probably with the situation of losing Josh and the offense, and things like that. But I don't think it's like they're at each other's necks. And I think that's just such a 2 to 6 topic. I can't even understand it.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Whatever.
Well, I wanted to start by just talking about the media circus and also social media circus surrounding Bailey Zappe. Put that into perspective like the three of us just did. But now let's focus just a little bit on the game. Just give me your overall thoughts, Derek, on the game. Then we're going to talk about some topics that go along with the game.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's Friday, so we'll keep it really brief. Honestly, I thought the game was really interesting. I thought the coaching staff did a nice job putting Bailey Zappe in position to succeed. They were running the ball at a nice clip. Ramondre Stevenson just is an absolute animal, and I'm sad that I never want to see a player get hurt. I do think the silver lining of the Damian Harris injury is I'm curious just to see Ramondre kind of in the solo role. I know that Kevin Harris has been elevated and Pierre Strong will be there to back him up as well, but I know that Stevenson's going to get the lion's share of the carries, and I'm interested to see how he looks because I think he's displayed a really nice set of tools this season. He looks like he's vastly improved. And defensively, I'm going to take a mea culpa on Jelani Tavai. I think he's been very solid in the front seven. Matt Judon continues to be on another level, but Jack Jones, the rookie cornerback,
once again,
back-to-back weeks. That interception he had was terrific. He actually was not even covering the guy that was targeted. He actually peeled off his route, came back, almost looked like a safety and like a free safety kind of roaming back there. And I thought the awareness to not only catch the ball, but also get his feet in bounds. I can see he has the ball skills and the instincts. He's everything that he was kind of billed as being. He's very aggressive. And I'm excited what we've got with a couple of guys going on that side of the ball. I think the defense has improved. Russ, you mentioned earlier how the offensive line, or maybe it was Steve, one of you mentioned how the offensive line has really stepped up the last couple of weeks. I think both of those things were struggling pretty hard. Now, I'm not going to make it out to say the defense is like, the steel curtain back there. They're still letting teams move the ball, but I do think they're heading in the right direction. And I thought it was a full team, a nice complimentary, full team performance. It was a good win.
Okay, Steve, to you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I mean, I thought that especially the defensive coaches, they had a tremendous game plan.
Yep.
And what was good is the players executed it. You got Detroit coming in, on just this one Sunday, and I know it's just limited, but they were averaging more than 2 yards a carry less than they had all season. And that speaks volumes to your front seven doing their jobs. They held the Lions to only a 3.7 yard average on the day. That's very good. And, the Lions have a lot of, quality pass catchers. And, the guy they obviously focused on stopping was TJ Hawkinson. And, he only had one catch for 6 yards. And that was, I want to say it was late in the third quarter or early in the fourth. So
yeah, it was late, and Ross St. Brown was limited, and he wasn't at full strength. And, they have some good firepower, but, this isn't a team. A shutout on any team, I don't care who it is in the NFL, is impressive. The Lions had scored 140 points coming into that game. Their offense is not a joke. So the fact that the Patriots defense kind of shut it down, it should give you some confidence in what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball and some of the players they're putting on the field right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a great performance on the defensive side. Nick Folk is, we kind of overlooked Nick Folk.
Automatic. Almost
yeah,
automatic.
I mean, he's about if you're inside of 50, just chalk it up. I mean, it's 63 in a row.
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
NFL record, by the way.
Yeah, and it continues to grow. Okay. So, and offensively, I agree with all of what Derek said. They played very conservative. Yes, they were 0-4 in the red zone, but I think that because of the way the game was going, they weren't going to push the envelope with Zappe. And they were just like, if we can get 3 points, we'll take 3 because the defense is playing lights out.
By the way, last thing on the Lions for me is if going back to last week's show, I was talking about the Lions are fast and loose and they're going to come in here and I'm just like waiting for them to do something stupid. And I didn't have to wait longer than the Lions' first drive when Dan Campbell put them in a freaking hole immediately with that idiotic Brandon Staley-esque fourth down call. Pick your spots. Like the analytics in the NFL have gotten to a stupid it's like they're playing Madden. Like it's like the dumbest thing you've ever seen. Dan Campbell put his team gave the home team the ball on the plus side of the field and immediately had to chase the rest of the game. It was so dumb. After that Kyle Duggar touchdown, that game was over. It felt like it was over after the Jack Jones interception. I mean, it was 3-0. It's just like I know this Patriots team isn't like a world-beating team right now, but it should give you confidence that Bill Belichick still knows how to coach circles around guys like Dan Campbell.
Well, that's going to bring me to really talk about a topic before we again talk about the Browns game. I wanted to focus on talking about the coaching staff. Okay. We could talk about specifically for this game, or we could talk about in general terms.
Okay.
Reason being is that this entire summer and the beginning of the season, there was so much scrutiny on not just Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, but on Steve Belichick. I will even say Gerard Mayo, all of the coaches, as not being what you're looking for with a coaching staff, because what Belichick has done, and we've talked about this over and over again, he promotes from within. He promotes coaches that are part of his system or know his system, because that's what he's going to do. It's going to be someone within his realm. I'm not against that, especially the coaches that have started from the very beginning, including both of his sons, who get a lot of crap because they're Bill's sons. But at some point, you have to look at yourself and say, well, maybe Steve Belichick can coach. Maybe Gerard Mayo can coach.
Let's do this. Steve and we both, I mean, I'll just say this. Steve and Gerard on the defensive side of the ball, let's grade them right now. I mean, just throw them, just a package deal together. How do you feel about them so far this season? B? Like, they've been fine.
I would say B, or I would go B- because there's always room for growth.
Right,
but,
but
if you're building and you're starting at a B- or even a B, that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, I'm not. Basically, my point was like, okay, let's go to the offensive side now. Now we're gonna do Matt Patricia and Joe Judge.
Okay,
we all were very critical, and I think deservingly so. I'm still questioning it. But how do you think they've done so far this year? We'll go individually.
Okay, so, well, it's hard to go individually if you're going to talk about Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, because their roles are probably fairly intertwined with Belichick as a coaching staff offensively. So I know what you're saying. Are we talking about Joe Judge because he's the quarterback's coach? Is that where we're going?
I'm just saying Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, they're kind of tag teaming the thing, just like Steve and Gerard are doing on the defense. So we don't have to parse it too much.
C+.
Okay. I actually was about to say the same thing. What about you, Steve?
I give them a C because I think they're getting better as the season goes along.
That's why I was going in that way too.
My biggest criticism of them so far has been that I still don't think the offense is extremely creative, and the play design, I'm still like, I just think that they're lacking that. But right now, I think that we've seen that Patricia who's been basically the play caller. I know all three of them, including Bill, have hands in the offense, right? But I think Patricia, as the play caller, I haven't had a lot of problem with how the games have been flowing at all. And that's not surprising, because at least he called plays on defense. We knew that could be a silver lining. My question, though, to you guys, though, is, are you frustrated with how you've seen the offense run with Bailey Zappe versus how it was running with Mac Jones?
Well, it's an interesting question. Go ahead.
I realized the fact that, when we talk about creativity, that was one of the knocks early in the season, because they were struggling so bad. They had to dumb it down and get very, basic with it. But, then you bring in a rookie third string quarterback and you have to dumb it down even further. So right. I don't have a problem with Patricia's play calling being as vanilla as it has been, because I think that if you throw too much at the rookie, he's going to get confused. He's going to slow down his progressions, and he's probably going to make mistakes.
Well, let me say this, though, because Patricia with Zappe, I totally understand. I guess my point was the fact that I'm looking at the last two games, and I'm like, wow, this is the training wheel offense. This is what Mac Jones was in last year. I think in even a tighter form, even a tighter leash these last couple of weeks. But the first couple of weeks, we saw Mac Jones. It looked like he was almost trying to do too much. And I just feel like the offense has been relatively efficient. They're not scoring touchdowns, but they're moving the ball and kicking field goals.
That's right.
But all I've watched the last 2 weeks, and I'm thinking to myself, man, why don't they go back to doing some of the things they did with Mac Jones last year, where he was in control and then grow from there, instead of these deep shot plays they were taking in the first 3 weeks, and he's putting up a bunch of turnovers. I don't know. I felt a little frustrated watching these last 2 games, because I just feel like, I'm not saying they needed to put the training wheels on Mac like they did with Bailey Zappe. I just feel like they just threw him out into like the deep end a little bit with some kind of bland play calling. I don't know.
Well,
play design.
Here's the thing, Derek. Here's my thoughts about why I believe they did what they did. They're basically saying, as you just said, they threw him into the deep end. They threw Mac Jones into the deep end and say, listen, we're going to get behind you and we're going to give you plays that are going to extend your growth. Now, they might be more simplistic, as you said, but I think that they're trying to help him grow as a quarterback, opening up his arsenal. This is the way I'm looking at it. Are they basic? Yes. But you know what? You can always fall back on what they've ran with Bailey Zappe, which you said the training wheel's on. Could there be a combination of the two? Maybe they can learn from the success with Bailey Zappe and do a combo package here. Do some play action, because the one thing that they have not done with Mac Jones has been play action.
And they've been doing that like 50% of the time with Bailey Zappe. It's exactly all play action.
So what I'm hoping, Derek, is that they look at this experiment with Zappe and also with Jones and give a combination of the two philosophies when Jones returns.
And I think that's a great point.
And then I think you have the best of both worlds.
I would also say I hope the silver lining of this injury is Mac Jones watching the offensive line and being like, okay, I don't need to speed up, because I do think that he didn't trust the offensive line the first few weeks. I think that goes back to the summer, because I thought Mac was really flustered the first couple of weeks because he was worried about what's in front of him, and Isaiah Wynn was just an absolute disaster. Now I think he's played a tiny bit better the last week.
But overall, I think the offensive line is in a much better place than it was the beginning of the season.
Oh, I agree, but I'm saying that some of the dysfunction with Mac on the field has been his lack of trust, I think, in things around him. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's true or not. And to Chris's point about the red zone offense being, an issue, you have to keep in mind, though. I mean, they've barely thrown into the end zone at all. It's just like with Mac last year. They're not going to have Bailey Zappe throw the ball into the end zone. They're just not going to do it. But they haven't punched it in as much as they need to, because things get tight, and it's hard. And they haven't had the kind of the step up from the tight ends that we were all hoping for, which were 2 big targets down there.
Okay. It looks like Claire has joined us, and I just want to mention this to Claire because I know she's watching live. Hey, Claire, I talked to a certain tight end's brother today. So I'm sure by me just saying that you lit up like a Christmas tree. I'll just mention that right now. Anyone that knows, I actually work at a place where I see Rob Gronkowski's brother, so I have mentioned Claire. So, just thought I would mention that, Claire. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you too much. Okay, Steve, back over to you. Thoughts on what we're talking about here with the coach and stuff, with the offense. What do you think about what I'm thinking that maybe Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and Belichick should consider a hybrid of what they've done with Mac and what they've done with Bailey Zappe?
Yeah, I mean, you have to go with what works for them. Obviously, what they've been doing with Zappe has worked a little bit. I mean, they're still moving the ball. They've moved the ball all season. They just haven't been scoring enough.
Right.
And again, you have to look at the defense too. The last 2 weeks, the defense is getting some turnovers, and nothing helps an offense that's struggling to score points more than the defense scoring for you. And that injects a ton of confidence in your offensive guys, knowing your defense is going to be there to pick you up. So, I don't have an issue with any of that. I think that as long as you find what works for the personnel that you have, then go for it. I just think, they're learning on the fly and they're getting better. Like you said, they hadn't used play action passing at all with Mac. And now they're using it a lot more because the running game is starting to really gain some traction, and that opens up all kinds of avenues for you in the passing game. And now, I think this week will be interesting because Tyquan Thornton got his feet wet last week.
Steve, can we talk about what you and I were talking about on that Sunday about Tyquan Thornton, my theory behind that?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so Derek, Steve and I were talking on Sunday, and I said if Tyquan Thornton was active, it was because of his rapport with Bailey Zappe, meaning that they probably worked a great deal together in the
training camp
and preseason, and that this might be a good sign for Bailey Zappe to have someone that he's already worked with and integrate him into the offense. And guess what happened? They made him active, and he was a small part, but he was a part of the offense.
I disagree with you, but not because I don't like where your head's at. I think they just really like Tyquan Thornton. I think he would have been out there if Mac Jones was out there at all. And I'll tell you right now, the fact that he came off IR,
I like what he
1 week and
like
immediately got onto the field.
Yeah,
and he was in multiple different alignments. Yeah. And I think that speaks to how they think of Tyquan Thornton and the way Nelson Aguilar's playing. I know he had a good summer. I know he's made a couple plays here and there, but the way he's played the last couple of weeks, he's going to be losing snaps. And I know people keep talking about Kendrick Bourne like he's not getting on the field enough. Look at his snaps versus Nelson Aguilar and Devontae Parker's. Kendrick Bourne's on the field like 5 times as much as they are. Kendrick Nelson Aguilar's snaps are going to go down and Thornton's are going to go up. I like where your head's at though, Russ, in terms of, running with rookies, scout team, not like necessarily starters. So yeah, they probably do have a better rapport than most of what your point is. But I thought the fact that he was on the field as much as he was right after coming off of IR, I thought just spoke to how the coaching staff views him. I thought it was a really positive sign for him.
Absolutely. A very huge positive sign. Okay, guys, before we talk about and preview the upcoming game against the Browns, I've got a curveball topic, and it's more of a topic about a former Patriots player. I want to get your thoughts on this because it's in the news. It's in everywhere. Everyone has seen it. I know, Chris, you probably have heard about it in England. Steve, I want to get your thoughts on the Tom Brady situation. Okay? I know we're going off of football a little bit, but anyone that doesn't know, I named my son after Tom Brady. And I'll always be indebted to Tom Brady for what he gave us. And he's still the greatest player that has ever played the game, in my opinion. But, Steve, I just want to talk about this a little bit because it's everywhere. It's everywhere here. It's everywhere nationally. I'll turn on the Today Show. They're talking about Tom Brady and Giselle. And I just think it's sad. And I just wanted to start off by saying I wish the best for Tom Brady and Giselle, and I hope it doesn't go down a very bad path. It's already headed there. I hope that gets turned around because I don't wish that on anyone. So I just wanted to mention that I do wish the best for Tom Brady, and I hope this situation improves.
I think he looks sick. He looks like tired. He looks like a guy who's going through divorce. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not like really trying to be funny. He just looks like he's just going through some shit. You can just see it in his face. He just doesn't look like, how normally it's like anyone who ever takes a picture of Tom Brady, he could be eating like a Philly cheesesteak in like old raggedy sweats, and someone would take a picture of him and he just looks like a model. It's like right now he just looks like I don't know if it's the shadow, if it's just the sunken look in his eyes. I'm telling you, he looks like he's just going through stuff at home, and it is sad. It is sad.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
Yes, yeah. He should have never left. This is the point. This is the curse.
Well, that goes to part of what I wanted to talk about, Steve, because I remember when we talked about when he retired, right? And I thought it was the right thing for him at the time because I was thinking, he's accomplished everything that you could ever want to accomplish. There was really nothing else to do, but this is who he is. But at some point, I was hoping that something else would come first. And this, to me, is a very bad situation for him. And I feel terrible because we're watching it in public and he's dealing with it. And I just, I'll say it again. As you said, well, there's a chance. I'm hoping that chance happens for him because football will end one day. And I just hope that he's still with his entire family intact.
I just really want to know. We really should move on, but I just
Okay.
really want to know.
Well, I
I'd
just
like
want
to
to
know.
talk about it briefly.
I just like to peek behind the curtain a little bit, because part of me is like, maybe he told her that he was going to be done last year or something. I don't know, but to me, he always said he wanted to play till 45. I feel like he said that from like the beginning of their relationship, whenever that started, like 10 years ago. So to me, it just seems like he's kind of doing exactly what he said he was going to do. But maybe, I don't know, maybe she's just like, she thought she could handle it and she can, or I don't know. I mean, she's
put her life on hold for him for.
Oh, I agree with that. She's made a lot of sacrifices, and she's probably like, well, where is your sacrifice for me? You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. And, when he retired, I think in her mind, that's when they were going to try to even the playing field, so to speak, family wise. And I think that decision, I was surprised by it, because I was asked on another podcast down here in Florida,
right,
back in March, do you think he's going to come back? And I was like, no, because, Brady was of the mind, especially with Bill Belichick. But when you're thinking about retirement, you're already retired, and you just stay that way. So
I wonder if
I was surprised he came back, and, hindsight being 2020, he's probably regretting it now.
Well, does his body language say that?
The Bucs are struggling.
Yep.
And like Derek said, you can see it in his eyes. When you're going through that type of thing, you can focus all you want on Sunday, but you're still distracted all week.
Yep.
He just looks like someone who's been burning the candle at both ends. You know what I mean? And
the fact of the matter is, he could have just waltzed into retirement. Fox is going to pay him a ton of money.
Yep.
To be their guy. There you go. Good call, Chris. GMTA. So
yeah.
I just thought it was a bad call. I mean, I know the fire still burns bright for him, and it will. I saw an interview with Roger Staubach just last week, or might have been longer than that, but where he says when he gets introduced onto the Cowboy Stadium for different events or whatnot, he still wants to get behind the center because he thinks he can still play.
Right.
So it doesn't go away. That burning desire to compete is still right there.
No. And listen, for my other show, I actually talked to legends of the other club that I follow, and they deal with the same thing. Because again, they need to be around it. They like to be around it. He'll always be around it. He's going to be covering the sport. But at some point, and Chris asked this question, is he being selfish? And I would say yes.
Obviously, his wife thinks so.
But too, and that's why you see so many players now transitioning from the field to either podcasts or journalism or some kind of, there's so much, on digital content.
They want that outlet.
They want to be close to as close as the game as they possibly can be. And
look
at
Julian Edelman.
Yeah,
Julian Edelman's doing it.
And he's all over. He's Paramount. He's got his own podcast.
I don't know if you guys watched any of the Thursday night stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, it's all players.
Look who's on Amazon now or doing pregame stuff. Marshawn Lynch.
Oh yeah, they're all doing
Tony Gonzalez, Andrew Whitworth, Richard Sherman, Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're all.
How about Rodney? Look at Rodney Harrison. I mean,
Marshawn
there's
Lynch
so many
would
of them.
never speak to the media, and now he's
a part of the media. That's great. Okay. Well, listen, I didn't want to spend too much time talking about him, but I just want to leave this conversation by saying I do wish the best for Tom Brady. Okay. Coming up next, we're going to preview the upcoming game for the Patriots against the Cleveland Browns. Okay, guys, let's just get to it. Guys, give me your opening thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. Derek, I'll give you first crack at this.
Well, the Browns right now are, they've been competitive, and they've pretty much been, I think, what a lot of people peg them to be, without Deshaun Watson, which is a team that has a pretty good roster, good, defense that can get after the passer, a team that can really run the ball, which they've done. And, they've come up short a few times. I think Jacoby has played okay. He's kind of your prototypical backup quarterback, but certainly one of the better backups in the league. And they are running the ball, I think, a little over 190 yards a game right now. And this isn't a team that has a running quarterback like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson that fluffs those numbers. This is just Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt running the ball, and they have a big offensive line. And I just think it's going to be first priority for the Patriots to be stopping the run this week, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for Cleveland. It's going to be a game that both teams are going to want to control that line of scrimmage and run the ball. And I am curious to see what they look like when Watson gets back on the field, assuming he does, because I think they could be dangerous. But right now, I just think they're kind of a middling team that will, if you let them control the game on the ground, they can hurt you. But if you can control that run game and keep them out of the end zone, I think that you'll be in good shape.
Okay. Steve, your thoughts on the Browns. Do you agree with Derek's assessment?
Oh, yeah. They're averaging 192 yards a game on the ground. That's number one in the NFL. And those two guys are excellent in the running game. But, the one thing about Cleveland, and it's been true the past few years, every year we hear, the Browns are building a really good, solid football team, and then they find ways to lose every week, it seems. How many times have we seen the Browns snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory in the last few years? They've done it a couple of times this year. So, it's like Derek said, if they run the ball like they can, control the clock, control the tempo, they'll be in the driver's seat. But if you can slow that down, I think this team can be beaten. We've seen the Jets do it. I mean, they melted down in that last couple of minutes against the Jets and Joe Flacco. I mean, that's been their MO. And, until they fix that, even with Deshaun Watson, it's tough to say this team is going to be anything more than it is.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Derek, back to you. Before we break down who has the advantage, let's get to the topic at hand. Chris Goodwin brings us Browns preview. Don't worry, be Zappe. Derek, are you expecting Bailey Zappe to be the Patriots quarterback on Sunday? There are reports that obviously Mac Jones has been playing. You're Bill Belichick. There's even a question of his health, talking about he's not probably maybe 50, 60%. Who do you go with?
If Mac Jones is around 75%, I'll go. If the doctors say that they clear him and Mac wants to go, I say you go. I don't think he's quite there yet. I still think he needs another week. If you wait him out this week, the next week is on Monday night versus the Bears at home. I just think it'd be easier. Get a little bit more treatment on that ankle. There's been a lot of reports that I think it was Mike Giardi of NFL Network mentioned how he still has some instability in that ankle. The word instability scares me. You really don't want to turn this into you missed 3 games. You go back out there. Now you're going to miss 3 more, 4 more because you hurt it again. That to me would be just a horrible, horrible way for the season to go because it is all about his development at the end of the day. I do think they'll go with Zappe because I do think it's going to be closer to 50 or 60% rest, like you said.
Yeah.
I've been encouraged by some of the videos that we've seen because he's looked a lot better than he did last week, and there's been some encouraging reports around him. But I do think that they ultimately go with Zappe because I just don't think Mac's quite there. But as Steve and I talked about it before the show started, I'd probably put it around like 40% chance that Mac has a chance to play.
Okay. Steve, do you think it's going to be Zappe? Do you agree with Derek that it's like 40%?
Yeah,
for Mac
I think
Jones?
It's 40-60 that Mac Jones plays. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it would be the smart play to let Zappe play this week, bring back Mac Jones next Monday night against the Bears, give him that extra week to heal up, but stranger things have happened. So
yeah, I wouldn't totally rule it out. I mean,
no.
Okay. All right.
GMTA, Claire.
Okay.
I saw her other comment there.
Her other comment, I can share her other comment because Claire's commenting as well. Cleveland could be pushed to beat themselves. Claire, you are right. And I actually like that picture of you, Claire. That's a good picture of you. I like that.
And you know what, too? I mean, look, the Browns beat the Panthers early in the year. They beat the Steelers by 12. Their 3 losses are by a combined 6 points. So when they're losing, they're barely losing. They're 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. That's it. Okay. So to me, what that tells me is that they're a competitive team, and it's going to come down to a couple of plays and who's the more disciplined team. I don't think, unlike last week where Bill, is at his height of coaching and he's going against Dan Campbell, who, no offense to Dan, seems like a nice guy, but I'm not sure can coach himself out of a paper bag. I don't know. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is. I think he's a better coach. So I expect that team to be running a little well, and I do think it could come down to what quarterback makes the most mistakes, and that does worry me a little bit about Zappe, because in the back of my mind, I don't know how you guys feel, but I look at it and say, you know what, Zappe didn't turn into a puddle in Lambeau, and you know what, he played pretty good against the Lions. It's like almost waiting for that other shoe to drop, and like I guess that's the pessimistic, side of me, but. Yep. They have put him in good positions to succeed, but I do think it could come down to just 1 or 2 mistakes. This game's probably going to be close.
And then don't forget,
negative Derek shows up.
Welcome.
Hey, don't forget last week, at home, the Browns gave up like over 200 yards rushing to a Chargers team that was one of the worst rushing teams in the league.
Yep.
So. It's going to be who executes better.
Okay. And that's going to lead to the matchups. Steve, over to you first. Which team has the advantage? The Patriots are on offense. The Browns are on defense. In the passing game, we're just talking about Bailey Zappe. We think it's going to be Bailey Zappe. Do you give him, the Patriots offense, the advantage in the passing game, or the Browns?
I'm going to go with the Browns on this one, because I think that the training wheels are still on here.
They are on.
And, Derek mentioned before we came live on the air that Jadeveon Clowney will be out, which is a big loss for them, both in the running game and, rushing the passer.
And Denzel Ward, their best corner.
That's the other one that I wanted to mention. Yeah, because he's their best cornerback, I believe. I think he's their best cornerback. He had a concussion, and now he's out. So I think that will help the Patriots, because, addition by subtraction out there, they're missing 2 of their better defensive players. But I still think the training wheels are on for Zappe. I don't expect Bill to get all pass happy with this. But, I'm going to still give the advantage to Cleveland.
Okay. Derek, over to you. Who has the advantage when the Patriots are on offense and the Browns are on defense in the running game?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I just feel like I just think the Patriots right now have really, really turned a corner with the offensive line and the running game. I'd feel even stronger about it if Damian Harris was playing. But like I mentioned earlier, I just am excited to see Ramondre in the role of kind of like, this is his. I mean, it's always been running back by committee, but I mean, you're talking about like Lawrence Maroney, Corey Dillon, where you were talking about guys getting like the lion's share of carries. And I think that could be Ramondre next year. We'll see. But I'm curious to see how he looks, because I think very highly of Damian Harris as a player, and I think Stevenson's better. And it's not a knock on Damian. And I thought you saw it at times there. That jump cut he had on the far side of the field that dropped the Lions defensive back, I was like, oh man, that you don't see guys that are, 230-ish pounds, 225 pounds move quite the way he does. He has a lot more wiggle than I think defenders realize. And so he's been able to, I think he's able to make the most of it. But yeah, Russ, I go with the Patriots with the advantage on the ground.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how much Kevin Harris and Pierre Strunk play.
If there's 30 carries, I say they both get, 4 each. Like, I think it'll be something like that.
Yeah, well, for Strong, I'd be curious to see if they use him as a third down back, because that.
What do we read into Kevin Harris being elevated over J.J. Taylor?
Well, I think, the Patriots like to pound the ball right now. And, I think he fits that mold better than J.J. Taylor does. That's why, when we were talking offline earlier this week, Derek, I said, I think there's a good chance they could elevate Kevin Harris because
you did say
he's that big bruiser. Now, he doesn't have the wiggle that Ramondre does, but he's a tough kid and he can move the pile. So
I can't decide if it speaks more highly of Kevin Harris being elevated or more of an indictment on J.J. Taylor not being elevated. And I'm leaning towards the optimistic side. You're welcome, everybody. To Kevin Harris being like, wow, they must think pretty highly of a rookie to be put in that situation. They already know where Pierre Strong stands because of special teams. But, J.J. Taylor, I know they like because he's on the team. But the fact that Kevin Harris was elevated over him, I'm curious to find out when we're watching the game if we're seeing or if the reason is kind of laid out in front of us, like, okay, that's why they wanted Kevin Harris because they want to use him in this situation or whatever. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting side topic. So
yeah, well, where they're running, these power runs and that, the bruising stuff up the middle, I think that fits Harris more. I think J.J. Taylor's more of that change of pace guy because he's not really a receiver. He's just a change of pace type of guy, kind of in the mold of Dion Lewis, but not as good.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that, they expect a tough physical game. And I think they just feel that Harris is a better fit against the Browns than Taylor is. I think next week they could change their mind.
Right. Oh, it'll be interesting to see. So,
okay, guys, let's flip it. Steve, over to you.
Russ is sick of us. Steve and I are talking about like the 53rd guy on the roster.
That's
Russ, let us have our minute.
Do you want me to? What, you guys continue?
No, we could for another 30 minutes.
Let's keep going.
Okay, Steve, over to you. Who has the advantage when the Patriots are on defense and the Browns are on offense in the passing game?
I think the Patriots do. I've been very encouraged with the way the secondary has looked. I think they're going to face another really good tight end, David Njoku, this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's excellent. But at the same time, who knows Jacoby Brissett better than Bill? And I think they'll throw some wrinkles at him. Plus the fact that as much as I've liked the way the secondary's played, I really like the way the pass rush is coming together. Matthew Judon has just been, a game wrecker for the opponents. I think he's primed for another big week. I know that's a really good offensive line, but I thought Detroit had a really good offensive line, and he was just wreaking havoc back there.
The way they've utilized Judon this year has been interesting. So he was playing significantly higher snaps than what he was playing in Baltimore last year, and he got burnt out. Right now, when I looked at it, he's playing about 57% of the snaps, which is lower than you'd think because of how active he is, but he's been staying fresher. And what the Patriots have done a lot, which is they've either taken Juwan Bentley and put him on the edge. They've done a lot of Anthony Jennings, a lot of Jelani Tavai, and they've done a really nice job setting the edge when Judon's not out there. Now, they haven't had a great pass rush necessarily without him being on the field, but they've done a really nice job setting the edge, at least without him on the field. Yes. And I've been impressed with that.
I think, guys like Anthony Jennings and like you said, Tavai, they've kind of moved those guys around a little bit on early downs, and it's given Judon a break. And, that was one of the things they had trouble with last year is setting the edge in the running game, which is why they left Judon out there so much. But I think these guys so far have been doing a great job. This will be a big test this week against the Browns running backs. But, to flip it back to the passing game, yep. I think the Patriots have the advantage here. I think they'll be I think they'll win this matchup as long as the running game doesn't, annihilate them with 200 yards or whatever.
Okay, Derek, your thoughts on the running game for the Patriots defense against the Browns? This is going to be a challenge.
It's going to be a challenge, and I give the edge to the Browns here. But here's my thing. It's like you're going to go in. I feel like the Patriots need to go into this with the mindset of like you're going to be in a street fight. You're gonna okay. So you're gonna be in a street fight. You're probably gonna get your nose bloodied a little bit. The point is that you just don't want to get hit too badly. You know, it's like you just you want. We know the Browns are gonna have some success on the ground. They're gonna want to run the ball. That's what they do, and they do it well. If I'm the Patriots, I say that's fine. We can let them run the ball, but they can't control the game. And I know it's a really fine line, and I'll be curious to see what wrinkle the defense has here, because I think they have been good on the edge. Where they've really had problems is in the middle, and what they've been doing is Christian Barmore is just, he's good against the pass. He's been double teamed a lot, but in the run he's getting moved a lot. And what teams have been doing is they've been basically like throwing a wedge in the middle of the offensive line, and they're running right up the middle. And these Patriots linebackers are real light, especially if it's Mac Wilson out there. I almost think they need to bring Kyle Duggar into the box, specifically as like a middle linebacker almost in this game, because he hits and tackles so well. We saw it on full display last week, which might have been Kyle Duggar's best game as a pro. But how the Patriots defend the run in this game is ultimately going to be probably what decides the entire matchup.
Okay. Excellent stuff. All right, guys, let's get to it. It's time to really break this down. Steve, over to you. Give me your 3 keys to victory and prediction.
Well, number one is, we've already talked about this. The red zone, production has to be much, much better. Okay. That's been something, that's been plaguing them even back to last year. They were 0 for 4, inside the 20 last week. And, they have to allow a little bit of the training wheels to come off for Zappe. It's not fair to him, when you have 10, 11 plays in the red zone and you only throw it once or twice. So, and I think play action passing on first down inside the red zone will be huge this week, because I believe that if you do that, the Browns are going to try to stop the run first and foremost. Yep. So if you get those linebackers peeking up, and you run a play action pass, I think Hunter Henry, is primed for a big game this week.
Oh, no. You can't do this.
Yes, I am, because I think that's how
I agree with you. But do you know who's lighting up right now?
Well, and that she should. But number 2, you're not going to stop Cleveland's running game. Okay, like Derek said,
you can only hope to continue.
You have to slow them down, and it's going to get to where they might get a first down or 2 here and there, but you have to force Jacoby Brissett to beat you.
Okay,
and I think that's that's going to be a big key for them this week. I think you're going to see a lot of the big packages this week where Bentley and Tavai are inside. Judon, Anthony Jennings, guys like that, because you have to slow down that running game and get them in passing situations. And the third, I think, when you do, attempt passing this week, you have to stretch the field both vertically and horizontally. And as I started to say, we got off on a tangent about Tyquan Thornton. With Aguilar banged up this week, this might be one of those games where he has 1 or 2 big plays. He might not have more than 2, 3, 4 catches, but 2 of those might be big ones. And, again, play action passing, get him in, out on an island against somebody and let his speed work for you.
I'm telling you right now that it's happening. They are throwing a bomb to Tyquan this week.
Yep, I think so.
Mo, I'll keep it quick because we've been going on, and I can tell Russ is getting bored. So, no, but honestly, no, I agree with my first 2 keys are exactly with Steve, and really it kind of turns into the third one.
It's the Steve and Derek show. I'm just a bystander.
That's true. Claire's on the show more than you are at this point.
Oh,
Claire and Chris. Chris has said more in the comments than you said all show.
I'm a passenger. Oh no. Okay,
but no. I'm only teasing.
I know.
But seriously, it's all about containing the run the best you can, not letting it control you, red zone production, and making Jacoby Brissett beat you. That's really comes down to it. I think that like I said, the Browns have been tough outs. They've won 2, they've lost 3, but they've lost those 3 by combined to 6 points. It's not going to be an easy game. I'll tell you right now, if Mac Jones was playing in this game, I would feel much better than what I do right now. I do think the Patriots will win the game, but I would feel a lot better if this wasn't Bailey Zappe with another week on film, kind of going through everything. If it was Mac in this game, I think they would win by 10. I don't think it's going to be quite that easy this week.
Okay, so let's just get to it. Derek, give me your prediction.
Well, I'm going to go with a very Chris Berman-like score here. And I'm going with the Patriots to go 26-20. Okay, I'm saying 26 because the Patriots are going to win by 6, which is how many points the Browns' combined losses have been this season because they're that much better. No, I just see the Patriots. I see them scoring a couple of touchdowns. I see them kicking a couple of field goals. That's kind of how I got to the 26. I do think that ultimately the Browns and the Patriots are both going to have success on the ground. I just think that the Browns are going to make a mistake somewhere that changes the game. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot from the Patriots this year to give me a ton of confidence versus very good competition. But I think in games like this, I think that they still come out, on top. So I'm going Patriots 26-20.
Okay, interesting prediction. Steve?
Yeah, I wrote in my keys to the game yesterday. I predict the Patriots are going to win 24-20.
Wow.
And 2 words. Marcus Jones.
Let's go, baby, to the house.
Okay. So we're going to the other Jones. Okay. Well, guys, I will give my prediction. But before I do that, I think I have a prediction from our friend Claire. So let me just find that real quick because I think that she gave a prediction. And she's going for a little bit of a blowout here. Claire's going 30 to 10. A little bit.
Patriots. 20 points is a blowout.
Yeah, it's a blowout. So,
especially Claire, on the road.
Claire, I love your confidence. I don't feel as confident as you. But I am going to go 21-17 Patriots. So I'm going to go somewhere to Steve. And before I go, I have to share this with you. Chris, they are actually playing. They're playing tomorrow, and they're playing Bournemouth, in case you're wondering. Okay. Nothing to do, but since it was a Steve and Derek show, I thought I would give a little Fulham in here. So. Okay. Guys, final thoughts before we go. Let's wrap this up. Steve, over to you.
I think it's going to be a fun and interesting game to watch because both teams like to do the same thing. They like to run the football. Both teams have backup quarterbacks in. Well, we think the Patriots will. So I think it's going to be a fun game, and whoever makes less mistakes will win.
Bingo.
Okay, that's good. Okay. My final thoughts are basically just, and I've done this before, just thank you to Steve, Derek, Claire, Chris, everyone that watches and listens to the show. We've been doing this for now 11 years, and it's been great. And I really appreciate everyone. And I honestly, the comments that I get, forget about the ones on Apple Podcasts that I mentioned, and there are some, are very positive and just talk about, and I've actually had someone that I work with recently listen to the show, and he says to me, you guys sound like you guys know each other's moves, and that's basically it. And it's very smooth. This is someone that listens to a lot of NFL podcasts and says to me that we stand up with those NFL podcasts. And I thought that was really nice. So I just wanted to share that we're doing something right because people continue to listen and watch Patriots 4th and 2. So I'll leave everyone with that. But it's time to wrap up the show. For Derek Havens, Steve.
What about Derek's final thoughts?
Oh, I thought Derek gave his final thoughts. Didn't he?
No, I didn't, but I was just going to let him go. I've said enough this show.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say this. I'll just say this too to echo Russ's thoughts. If anyone's ever wondered,
and it's time to wrap up the show.
If anyone's ever wondered what a conversation of Steve and I are like on the phone, it's basically what we just did with the running back talk in the middle of the Browns breakdown, where we're just talking about Kevin Harris and JJ Taylor for 5 minutes. Okay. But that's basically what happened. But I will say this: I'm hoping for some ibuprofen this week because I got to get rid of this fever. The Zappe fever.
Oh, God. Okay. Enough. I've had enough of that, but I will just say this one last time. Just big thank you to everyone that watches and listens. And I am very sorry that I forgot Derek, but and I'll just mention that to end the show.
A Freudian slip.
I guess so. For Derek Havens and Steve Balsherry, I'm Russ Coleman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Patriots 4th and 2, the official podcast of PatsFans.com.